Hello and welcome to another video from Only One Read. And I don't really know what to call this, if I should call this a book haul. Maybe I will call it a teeny tiny book haul. Because I believe last time I had 3 books. Well, not last time, but the time before. I had 3 books to talk about, and I call that a mini book haul. So I'm going to call this a teeny tiny book haul because I only bought 2 books uh, a few days ago. Basically, I went into Foyles because I was searching for some particular books that I wanted to get for my friend for Christmas. What I was actually looking for was The Story of Your Life and Others and Escalation by Ted Chiang. They're both short story collections. I have read most of the short stories in both. I don't think I've read all of them. But fun fact about me, Ted Chiang is actually probably I would say my all-time favorite author, which is a little bit random and niche because his writing is unlike anything I've ever read before, in that it is actually, now that I've said that, he does remind me of someone, and I will get to that. Another author that I was planning on talking about in this video anyways. His writing is very transcendental, I would say. He's not a very well-known writer. He only writes short stories, and he's only published these 2 collections. I think roughly like 5 or 6 stories in each one. He is a computer programmer by trade, and his stories kind of range in genres. I would say generally science fiction, but a lot of the time he writes about parallel realities. For example, one of his stories, he wrote about a world where the existence of God and hell and angels was a known scientific fact, and the people would have like angel visitations and kind of having a bit of a commentary on, what that would mean for religion and belief, and how there were still people who were what we would call atheists, in that they didn't really care about the existence of God, they didn't really want to get into heaven. There have also been kind of more historical short stories, which again kind of draw on like biblical stories. For example, off the top of my head, one that is kind of a retelling of the story of Babel, where they do reach the top. I'm not gonna spoil that for you guys. But there have always kind of been very big and deep ideas in his writing. And the way I discovered him is that he wrote the short story, The Story of Your Life, for which his first, um, I want to say anthology, but that's not what you call it, short story collection was named after. And that short story was adapted into the film Arrival, which is one of my all-time favorite films. So basically, if you've seen Arrival, you basically know what Ted Chiang's work is like. So I went in looking for those books, but I didn't find them, and instead I ended up buying a few other things, bits and pieces for Christmas. Basically, I was on my way to do some Christmas shopping. So I got distracted and I ended up buying 1 book for myself. I got 1 book for myself and 1 book for my cousin as a Christmas pet present, unless I end up giving it to her earlier. Because I like to give her things. She's a lot younger than me. She's 12, and I like to give her things like gifts when I go to visit. And I think she'll like this, so I might end up giving it to her before Christmas. But I kind of had it in my mind as it being a Christmas present. But anyway, the book that I bought for myself is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke, and this was the author that I was referring to when I suddenly came to the epiphany, literally just now when I was talking, when I realized that actually her writing is the most similar to Ted Chiang's that I've probably read. In that it's just very strange, and she takes very, very strange ideas, but then twists them in ways that makes them familiar, and then you kind of come to this realization that actually what you're looking at is familiar, but it was just presented to you in a very, very odd way. A story that is very much like that is Ted Chiang's 72 Letters, and I suspect I'm going about this all wrong. I'm going to talk to you about this book first. Right, so this book is Susanna Clarke's first novel, written, I believe, a long time ago in 2005, but it's recently had a resurgence because her second or maybe third novel, actually, I'm not sure. I think she's had three novels. Unless the third work isn't a novel, I need to double check that. Um, I think that's correct, actually. She's only written two novels. So basically, her second novel, Piranesi, which came out, I think, in 2020, 2021. I saw it all around. I've heard very good things about it. Everybody was saying that it was like unlike everything they've ever read, right? And I've always wanted to read it, but kind of never got round to it. But recently, I bought it on Audible because I was planning on deleting my Audible account, but I saw that I had loads of credits, so I just went and started buying loads of audiobooks. Now, audiobooks are I've ended up talking about Piranesi. I'll talk about Piranesi and then I'll talk about this. Audiobooks are something that I have struggled to get into as a reader. On the surface, they sound kind of ideal, but I really struggle to pay attention to what I'm listening to. I suspect that I have undiagnosed ADHD as well. Not to be that person who like throws diagnoses around, but anyhow, regardless of whether or not I actually have ADHD, I find it difficult to concentrate on something that I'm listening to. And also, it is I will say it is definitely a different experience than reading a book physically. Because when I'm reading a book physically, I can stop it and I can stop and start really easily. I can get up, I can reread lines. If I'm confused, I can go back. Whereas it's very difficult to rewind and find where you were with an audiobook. I had tried audiobooks before. Probably the one that I tried most recently was I tried to listen to The Hobbit on audiobook. But I think my mistake when I was doing that was I used it like before bed, but it would just lull me to sleep, which was a nice thing. But it meant that then in the next morning, like I basically hadn't made any progress, and I had to keep rewinding. Like, oh no, I did hear this before I fell asleep, and I was making very very slow progress. But I've realized the best way to listen to audiobooks is just like when you're doing menial tasks. So now I've been listening to Piranesi whenever I've been doing the dishes, or if I've been like so I put it on like while I was doing a puzzle. Although that was a bit of a challenge for me. I feel like I might not do that again because I feel like the puzzle I do actually need to use my brain a little bit, and it was a little bit I had to pause it a couple of times because I missed something. But Piranesi also, I think, lends itself very much to the format of the puzzle. So I do think actually that Piranesi is probably a book enjoyed knowing absolutely nothing going in. But I will give you a little bit in case you want to. If you wouldn't mind going into a book completely blind, stop watching here because I think that it will add to your experience. I knew very, very, very few things about it. I was initially drawn to it. I would be drawn. The thing is, I think I don't like the cover they've used for it because it looks like a Greek mythology retelling. The cover it looks like. I will. I don't know. Google it. I don't know. I thought maybe I'll put it on the screen, but I don't think I'm that advanced yet. With like editing software. But it looks like a Greek mythology retelling, and then I would see it and think, "Oh, Greek mythology retelling," and I read the back and I'd get disappointed. Um, but it's really not. Basically, what it is, I'll put this down since I'm not even talking about it right now. Is you start and it seems to be about this narrator who lives in this massive house, and he gives you the impression that this is all that the world is. He basically lives in a parallel universe, reality of this massive, massive marble house filled with endless statues and with um, endless seas that rack the house, and certain rooms become flooded. But there are also animals living in the house, and he kind of survives on his own, fishing in the seas, and yeah, there's also the other, which is the only other human being that he has contact with, who he sees twice a week. Um, I think that's enough kind of setup for it, to be honest. That's all you need to know. I will say that it is very much like not a lot happens in this book, even though it's very short, even though it feels long to me because I'm listening to it. It does lend itself to the audible experience though, because you don't know what's going on. It's like you have this kind of very skeletal bare bones of the story, and it's basically a mystery novel, is how it feels like to me when I'm reading it, because you slowly start to uncover and you slowly realize what's going on and you slowly start to piece things together. I think I've heard that there's a twist coming. I don't know what the twist is. I am going to make a video talking about my thoughts on this, because I won't lie, I was a little bit disappointed because it's going somewhere that I didn't think it was going. I thought it was going to go for something like way more out there, unless it does end up going for something way more out there. If it is just what it seems to be so far, I'm just a little bit over halfway. It's a little bit underwhelming, but it was still a really nice experience to listen to it and to listen to the mystery and to kind of figure out, oh my god, what's going on? Who is this? It sounds like listening to almost like a scary story in a campfire. Not that it's scary, but it has tension and it grips my attention. So I think I was lucky with that. And it also kind of reformed audiobooks in my mind. I say reformed, I haven't finished it yet. And I think I am much more likely to give more of them a go. I think probably the next one I'll do is Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I also have that on audiobook. I have not read a Sally Rooney book before, but I know the themes that she kind of explores. I know quite a bit about them because I've read some reviews of her other books. I know Intermezzo just came out, I think, a couple of months ago. I feel like I will like her books. Anyway, I'm going on too many tangents. Let's stick to one. My point was, this is why I picked up Susanna Clarke's Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, because I really like this writer. And what this is from what I understand, it is kind of a historical alternate history of the war between England and France in the, I want to say, 17th century. You know the whole like Napoleon thing, the Napoleon, they can't say it, Napoleonic Wars. I could be completely wrong because I didn't do much research before buying this, but what from my understand, it is, an exploration of that war, but it's a kind of alternate universe where they have magical powers, and Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell are the key characters, and one of them is kind of like a high-ranking admiral in the French fleet, and one of them is in the English fleet. Although I just realised that they're both English names, so I could be wrong about that. But I am under the impression that they're in different sections. You know what I mean? That they're on opposite sides of this war. Or maybe I'm being wrong. Wait. Hmm. Unless I think they might both be part of the English Navy, but they kind of have this like rivalry with each other. I don't know. Also, I'm getting romantic vibes from this. I'm getting enemies to lovers. And not to like spoil Piranesi, but there's a lot of mention of like um relationships between men in Piranesi as well. So I feel like Suzanne Clarke doesn't shy away from writing gay romance. So I would be for it. I love a good kind of uh you know, rivals to enemies to rivals to lovers kind of thing, like tensions rising. Like I love that kind of thing. And like I said, I love her writing. Yeah. Okay. Next book. I talk for ages now. I need a sip of water actually. Oh. Okay, so this is a classic. This is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I can't even say it. Now, I definitely had a copy of this, but I recently looked in like my main bookcases at home, as in not here, which is my flat in the city that I live for uni, but where I live at home, and I couldn't find it. But regardless, this is such a pretty cover, a pretty edition. You can't really see it through the camera, but it really like sparkles, and it's got like a lovely quote on the back, where you tend a rose of thistle cannot grow. And you've got the little girl with the key and the roses. I just think it's a really pretty cover that you don't find easily. I got this from Foyles, and I thought to myself, okay, even if the cover that the copy that I definitely saw when I was growing up. Even if that turns up, this is still a really nice copy to have. So this is what I'm getting for my cousin for Christmas slash maybe a bit of an earlier gift. She's a really big reader, just like me. I take full credit because I started gifting her books. And she started reading them because she was like, what am I going to do with all these books? And it stuck. So yeah, I haven't actually read this, so I kind of bought it for myself as well. um, I have read a abridged version of this. So basically, when I was growing up, I cannot remember if I have mentioned this before, but I was mostly homeschooled for the majority of my childhood. And kind of like what I would do for English, I would read like abridged versions of novels when I was like 5, 6, 7. So whereas I think the majority of children were reading like children's books, like Percy Jackson, like Harry Potter, like Roald Dahl, I was reading abridged versions of classics, which means I'm in a strange position where I know the plots and characters and pretty much everything about a very, very wide variety of literature, but I have not actually read the proper material. It's like I just have the sheets for everything. So I read the abridged version of this, loved it as a child. You know, it was one of those really short, like Usborne young reading versions, but I loved it. So if you don't know what this is about, it's basically a children's book set in, I'm not sure, I think it's somewhere in the 19th century. It's during the time when England occupied India. That was Victorian times, wasn't it? So I want to say like late 1700s to early 1800s. And it's about this family who are quite high-ranking nobility, I believe, or the father is in the army. I forget the semantics, but they're kind of stationed in India, and they have this little girl, Elizabeth. It is Elizabeth, isn't it? I'm like 99% sure that it's Elizabeth. And she's very spoiled. She's a bit of a brat, um, but she also doesn't really have a good relationship with her parents. It's kind of implied that she only acts this way to kind of gain attention from her parents. Spoiler, but I don't really think this is a spoiler because this is like part of the setup for the book. Her parents die of typhoid, I think it is, and she gets kind of shipped off back to England, which is I don't think she's ever been to or remembers being to because she's grown up in India all her life. And her uncle is away though during that time when she first arrives, and she kind of explores the house and she finds this secret garden, and she also finds actually I won't say that bit because I have seen the film as well. And I should say that my cousin saw the film, and that's why I also bought her the book because I feel like she has a brief idea of the story, and I feel like she'll like it. I won't reveal the second kind of part of what the arc in this story is, or maybe I will. Okay, spoiler alert, leave if you don't, because the majority of the film deals, the book and film deals with this, but I think there is like a little period of time, I don't know how long, where it's kind of a surprise. So maybe look away if you don't want to be spoiled at all. Okay, if you're still here, then basically she discovers that there is also her cousin, so her uncle's son, living in the house, and he is very ill. He's very bedbound and weak, and it's kind of her job to like cheer him up and make him fall in love with life again, basically. So it's just a really like a light-hearted, children's tale. Yeah. So that's everything. I have talked far too long for literally just two books. Yeah, I really didn't think that this video was going to end up being this long, but I ended up talking about a lot of things. But I don't think that's a problem because for me, at least, as long as I'm talking about books, it's relevant to this channel. So thank you so much for tuning in today for today's video, and hope to see you next time on Only One Read. Bye. Here we are again. I think I am just going to add this clip onto the last video because I filmed it yesterday, but I haven't posted it yet. I filmed it and I was saying in that video how I don't know if this counts as a book haul because I'm only going to be discussing 2 books. Well, fear not, because I went and bought 2 more books today. I actually may properly have a problem, but it's okay because it could be worse, you know? I could be an alcoholic, I could be a drug addict. I'm not. I just buy books and knickknacks. I say knickknacks because basically I went to Foyles with the intention of looking for a academic diary. Well, it doesn't have to be academic. No, it has to be academic because at this point it's too late in 2024 to get a 2024 calendar. It would have to be 2025, and I can't really be asked to wait a month to be able to use a diary. So I was out looking for an academic one. I would have settled to buy a 2025 one if I found a nice one, and then just wait a month to use it. I haven't really been using them lately, but I used to use them and I want to get back into using them. They're really useful for writing down important dates. They used to, at the school that I went to, they would used to give us a free diary with every academic year. And yeah, that was something that I found really like helpful, but haven't really been using it. I went to look for that and I got distracted. I didn't end up, I found a few, but I didn't really like them. They were very expensive for what they were. And if I was like, if I'm going to buy a really expensive one, if I'm going to buy like a £10 like academic diary, I want it to be like really pretty and for me to really like it. And I didn't really like any of the designs that they had. I did find some nice notebooks. I got a couple as Christmas presents for some of my friends and some bookmarks. I haven't kind of brought them here to show you, but I think from now on I will kind of include these little knickknacks into these haul videos if I buy anything, especially if it is book related, because bookmarks, they're book related. So, from now on, I will include them in the videos. And maybe the next time that I film, I can't be asked to get up now and get them. Maybe the next time I sit down to film, I will show you guys. But I will show you the 2 books that I did buy because it was buy one get one half price. I bought the Cloisters. Now I was in a very like arty mood because I'd been looking at um basically one of my friends is really into art. I also am as well. And I'd been looking at notebooks that had like art designs. In the end, I got her a really pretty one that had Monet's water lilies, and this one is about a young woman who moves to New York, and she's hoping to work at the Metropolitan. I'm just reading at the back as well. The Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, but she ends up not being able to get the job, and she's assigned to the Cloisters, which is the Met's Gothic Museum and garden renowned for its collection of medieval and Renaissance art. And while there, she gets kind of like surrounded by this inner circle, let's say, of like art students and critics. Um, so I'm getting kind of like dark academia vibes from this. One man in particular, or one group, basically have this obsession with divination and with magic and whether it might be real. And at first she's doubtful, but apparently she discovers this ancient medieval tarot card deck, and things start happening. And yeah, it's art, it's magic, it's dark academia. What more could you want, honestly? And then we have She's Always Hungry, which honestly, just from the title alone, like I have to buy this. I like messed up things, and look at this cover. Look at the pink with the green hand out of the bathtub. It screams female rage. It screams horror. It screams like feminism. I had to get it. Apparently, it's a short story collection, and it says it's all about hunger. A teenager longs for perfect skin. A scientist tends to fragile alien flora. A young man takes the night into his own hands. I want to read more short stories because I am incredibly busy, and it would be really good for me to read more short stories because I would get more reading done. I would get to experience more things. So yeah, really looking forward to this actually. I love that idea of being insatiable, of like female rage, of having put up with so much in your life and just snapping and kind of having this unquenchable hunger and thirst and insatiability, and how it's kind of often in fiction it's shown in a way that is very violent and brutal, like vampirism or cannibalism, and it's always a metaphor for this like suppressed, like I said, female rage basically. And as someone who has a very complicated relationship with food, just the title "She's Always Hungry" like speaks to me on a very visceral level. Because I low-key do feel like food and books, um you know, they're all just trying to fill in that hole that I have deep inside me. So that was it today. Just these two. I don't know, maybe I'll end up buying something else and I will end up like adding it to this video. But hopefully not, because I really need to chill. See you next time.